Hello and welcome to CityPrepRadio.com. You are now tuned in to Preps the Pros with Chris Brewer, Fred McHenry, and JJ.
What's up, fellas? This is Chris Brewer coming to you live from the City Prep Radio Studios. It's our very first show. We have a show called Prep the Pros. I'm going to introduce everybody here. I know Dakari just said that, but give you an idea of who I am. I'm Chris Brewer. I'm born and raised right here in Denver, Colorado, and had opportunity to play at George Washington High School. Went on to University of Arizona, and also was drafted in the NFL by the my hometown team, Denver Broncos. So and then played about 4 years in the pros. So I have a good idea of what it takes to go from the preps to the pros. So we have a show where what we're going to do is our first segment is going to be more high school and preps, not just the high school, but preps in general. And then we'll go into college, and then we'll go into the pro arena. So that's why we call it from the preps to the pros.
So every week you guys will get a chance to really talk about everything.
We'll talk a little bit about everything.
I think that's a great show.
And it's not just football.
Absolutely.
We're going to do it all. We're here to stay. This is our very first show, so we're getting the kinks out. We're doing what we need to do. I got Fred McHenry over here. Fred, what's going on, man?
Man, as Gucci Mane used to say, it feels so good to be back.
Absolutely.
What you know about Gucci Mane?
Hey,
See,
man,
now you got to understand the flavor of what this show is all about. Okay, before I do that, let me just go ahead and introduce my boy, JJ. JJ, what's up, man?
Nothing, man. How's everybody today?
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's JJ. I played high school ball in Colorado Springs at Rampart. Went to college at UNK, which is Nebraska Kearney. And after that, I only played 1 year there, and then I transferred out to California and played JUCO at Cabrillo.
Right.
And I had 2 very productive years there, but I unfortunately hurt myself, so wasn't able to continue my dreams of playing football.
But you know sports.
Oh, definitely.
You got it down, and so I'm just glad to have you. See, the dynamics of this show is that we've got JJ over here. He's like our young buck. Right, he's gonna give his your flavor, even though Fred is over here trying to steal JJ's flavor,
with the Gucci Mane reference.
With the Gucci Mane reference.
It just does feel good to be back, and I'll explain a little bit about my background. I've been in sports talk radio and different things for about 20 years now. Used to work with Terry Smith at KDKO.
That's a great man.
Yes,
yeah,
he certainly was a great man. He actually gave me my start in radio, and then worked with Woody Page and Gil Whiteley on the afternoon sports talk show. Been on the Fan, was on K-Big prior to the Fan. So I've been around. I guess when I was with Gil, it seemed like every station we were on ended up going out of business. So I didn't know if that was a precursor to my career or whatnot. But anyway, and like I say, it is good to be back. I've covered football, played football. I also played at George, played at Kansas University. I had a brief stint with the Chiefs until I got my leg broke and found a better way to make a living. And so here we are.
Here we are. So like I said, you see the dynamics. We got the young buck gonna tell us what you guys are thinking as far as the young people. We got myself. I'm kind of in the middle. I can go either way, but I don't know if I can do that Gucci man. and then we got Fred McHenry, to get off my lawn guy. So
I'm old school.
He's old school. He's old school. So he went to George Washington before they were busing. So, not necessarily. I'm gonna have the joke. See, you guys, most of you guys know me. If you don't know me, like I said, I did a quick introduction. We talked about Terry Smith. I was a
wait. Hold up, though, Chris. If you're gonna tell his age now, he has something. He has the right to tell yours.
I didn't tell his age.
You said before busing.
Okay, I did say that. He went to George before they was busing. So,
Fred, if he's gonna throw those low blows, you know what? We'll ring the bell and let you go ahead and punch back.
I don't take it as a low blow.
No, I know.
Chris is a good person.
Absolutely.
He didn't get a good education.
Absolutely.
I told you that's why I was happy to graduate from GW when I did.
Absolutely.
He'll tell that joke before I will. But anyway, let's get back to Theory real quick. Cause you know what, homage to Theory Smith, because I was a second sports director at KDKO, after Theory. Theory is, he's passed on, but we will always remember him. We're going to have some memorial shows that's going to, and some memorial events that will, just dedicate to Theory, because, he's really our pioneer as far as, and I will just say, like I feel it, as far as African American radio here in Denver, in the Colorado region.
Absolutely.
So he broke it open for all of us. And so we can always just remember Theory. He's going to always be in our hearts. And so I'm glad you brought that up. We're going to always bring a reference to Theory Smith, the great Theory Smith. And I want to make sure I mention my sponsors. We've got Hope. We also have Clark Auto Body. Hope is helping our people excel. Clark Auto Body, you want to make sure you visit with them. And then we also have A1 Boxing. So each one's going to do a segment. And right now I'm just going to talk about Hope real quick. It's helping our people excel, a nonprofit organization. In the summer of 2001, Hope began to respond in the needs of our community. Our clients come from a variety of backgrounds and include the homeless, people with disabilities, single parents, and working families. 33% of the people served are children, and 15% have disabilities. If you want to contact Hope, they're right there at 11946 West Colfax in Lakewood, Colorado. You can also reach them. You go by there at 3940 South Broadway, Inglewood. Their number is 303-762-7986. We're going to be out there. That's, again, 303-762-7986. We're going to be out there September 26th doing a live remote for Hope and with Hope. And we're excited about it because, now, in this political climate, we're always talking about how the government needs to do this or the government needs to do less. Hope, as Fred, as you well know,
Right.
They're doing it for them. They're the community taking care of the community, not really dependent on the government doing it or not doing it. And that's what it's all about. If you're
Right.
conservative or you're not, we should be taking care of our own.
We should be taking care of our own, and you and I both volunteer out there on Monday, and they feed people in Inglewood on Monday, and they feed people in Lakewood on Wednesday. And what we're starting to see a lot more of is people that are working middle-class families that they can pay their mortgage, they can pay their
Necessities,
bills,
yeah.
necessities, but that doesn't leave enough money for food for their families to eat. So how can you survive? So we're starting to see a lot more middle-class families coming in just due to the economic conditions, and the price to live in Denver now is almost as bad as California.
Well, it's getting there.
Yeah.
JJ and I were talking about that just yesterday. He just got off the plane from California. So with the climate out here in Denver. So you know what? We appreciate Hope. We'll talk more about them as we go on. Today we got a little bit different flavor as far as what we're going to do as a show. It's a Buffalo show. If you didn't work out this weekend, this is your time to get buff. We got the Smoky Hill Buffaloes, we got the Colorado Buffaloes, and we've got the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, that's right, the Buffalo Bills. I know this is Bronco country, but we know we got the Buffalo Bills. We're going to talk about.
Where are you coming with that from?
I don't know how we're going to talk about Buffalo Bills.
Well, you know what? Here's
there will be a way.
Here's the deal with the Buffalo Bills. All right, or any team that we talk about as far as pros are concerned, especially pro football. Mm-hmm. Fantasy football is big, and you need to know every team. If you haven't done your draft yet, if you need to know every team and what they're doing and how they're doing it, and Rex Ryan, Rex in effect, you're gonna always need to know about what he's doing. He's gonna always be entertaining. So and we see. You could talk about the Broncos all day, or you could talk about the Deflategate, and you get that ad nauseum. I'm gonna say it. You get that ad nauseum. We're gonna flip the script just a little bit and talk about some other things that are going on in sports, but we really want to concentrate on the what happened in prep football, because we don't get enough of that at all, and we were going to just concentrate on the Smoky Hill game because it was a game that you can actually see on TV.
It was featured as one of the games of the week.
Exactly. And so, and also Cherry Creek and Regis was also featured as well. So it was a game that you could see. And then I got a little affinity for Smoky Hill. So since it all tied in, and this is a Buff weekend, so I have a little affinity for Smoky Hill. I got my youngest son is out at Smoky Hill. So Of course, we're going to talk about it just a little bit, but there was also some big news in 5A football that really went down. But let's just talk about the Smoky Hill game. Smoky Hill did lose this game. I mean, woo. It was close in the beginning, but it kind of got away from them. And all my hats go off to the Rock Canyon team. They have a really good football team out there. They do a 2-quarterback system. Mm-hmm. And it's Eric Hummel. No, not Eric Hummel. It's Josh Goodell and Matt Losh. They alternate. It's the best I've ever seen at 2 quarterbacks alternating.
I thought Hamill was the quarterback out there.
No, Hamill is the wide receiver.
Oh, is he a wide receiver? Okay.
Eric Hamill is a wide receiver. He's a 6'2" wide receiver. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thin guy. He really, number 17.
He's huge.
He'll remind you of an Ed McCaffrey type,
right.
But he's because quiet as kept. Ed McCaffrey has speed, but he's that type of player. But when you have 2 quarterbacks, it's said that if you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any. But this is the best I've ever seen 2 quarterbacks working together. One goes in one series, the next one comes in the next series. They're not 2 different type of quarterbacks. They're just 2 quarterbacks. And Jacob, and I'm going to have problems with this name, and I know it. Snicker is their running back. Number 2, man, it was a track meet for him. He was up and down the field all night. JJ, you were there. What did you think? What did you see?
I mean, I thought he was great. He obviously has a great offensive line. That left tackle that they have on the left side is
number 77.
Yeah, he's a big guy. 71,
he's a beast.
I believe it was.
71 and 70. Oh, they got their bookends.
Right,
71 and 77.
Yeah, and he's great. He's got great speed, great cutting ability. The wide receiver, he's also really good too. And I thought that was also really interesting about the dual quarterback system as well, because me personally, I've never really seen that work as well as it did last night. Mostly because quarterbacks, they work off rhythm, right? You know, you need to get a rhythm with your team, and it seemed like when they were alternating that, no one was losing any steps. They didn't lose a beat at all.
Now I'm gonna bring up a name, Fred. This is one of the reasons we have you here. Do you know who their quarterback coach, offensive coordinator is? I'm gonna tell you. You get that look, and when I say it, you're gonna say,
"Well,
what?"
I know. I see the reason why I'm a little leery is because I know Coach Lamb out there is a new head coach. This is his first year,
right?
And I know he lost 6 starters on defense, but the offense came back pretty much intact. So I knew offensively they're going to be good. The question was going to be on defense, but obviously, from what you're telling me, it sounds like they got it solved. So why don't you tell me who the offensive coordinator is?
Tom Tissot.
Well, I played football with Tom. So yeah, I know,
okay,
I know
I'm going to tell you,
well.
and I didn't know that until last night. The son of the great late Fred Tissot.
Yeah,
that was at Cherry Creek for years. They want to name the Stutler Bowl after, a matter of fact.
Right.
But that's his rumor. But anyway, and I've never seen a quarterback tandem work that way. I've seen quarterback tandems where one quarterback is the running quarterback and one quarterback is the passing quarterback. Right. Mm-hmm. I've never seen where the quarterbacks work in such a rhythm, as JJ said. They work in such a great rhythm with each other. That was it was a beautiful thing. I've never seen it work that well before anywhere in football.
Me either.
Well, their offensive coordinator, and like I say, Coach Lamb, he's no stranger to this. He was out at Mission Viejo in California. And he was coaching one of the top teams in the country,
mm-hmm.
And they did some innovative things on offense. So it doesn't surprise me that he would bring that in to Colorado, because he can probably do that here. Because right now these coaches know it's tough to prepare for one quarterback, but if you've got 2 doing the same, working in tandem, how do you defend that?
And they don't get tired. They get right, yeah. And they're fresh, and they got their rhythm going.
And one of the things I think is really interesting about it is high school. To see a 2 quarterback tandem working in high school really is something very interesting. You see it on the college and pro level sometimes that they tamper with it, but to do it on a high school level and see success, I think that's something that Fred's touching on. And that coach has something special to them to make those young players believe into that.
Right. Exactly. I think that's a big thing. I feel like you got to give it up for those guys because, as a quarterback, you kind of want to be the guy,
Absolutely.
You want to be the one who's making the plays, taking your team into the championship, and for you to be able to share reps with another guy who I'm sure those guys are probably pretty good friends, I think that's.
They get along great. Yeah. It's not a competition. It's like, hey, you'll start this week, and perhaps the other guy will start next week. Right. It was their first game, but to see them, it was a lot of penalties in that game. A lot of penalties in the game. I think it was like 21 penalties total for 258 yards or something like that. It was really crazy how many penalties was. The game it lasted long because of which. But it was their first game. Smoky Hill's second game with John Trahan coming in from Montbello High School.
Absolutely.
Right.
And, so he's new. See, high school football, they don't get a chance to have a preseason where they can really take on live bullets. You could do scrimmages, but it's not the same as having a chance to play other teams. So John is really building something there because in both games, this is their second game. At halftime, they're in both games. And this kind of falls apart. And you can expect that from a new team, new coach, and then a lot of young players.
Absolutely.
Well, knowing John, he'll get that squared away, and I have to give a shout out to my boy Stanley Richardson. He's out there at Smoky Hill. He's very knowledgeable as well. Comes from a great football family, and it's going to take time at Smoky Hill.
Yeah,
they got to get some more. They just got to get some more players.
Well, it's not just that. They got to learn how to play with each other. They got a junior quarterback, Carson Avila. Last year, he was playing varsity. He didn't really start a lot of games, but last year he was playing varsity, and he really didn't know how to be a quarterback. And I'm glad you brought up Stanley. Stanley is teaching him how to be a quarterback, how to slide in the pocket, how to release. And here's the thing about Smoky Hill that you got to remember. There is a new coaching staff, but what Coach John had asked each coach, I need a commitment from you. You can't go anywhere. I don't want you going anywhere. I want you to commit to these kids for the next 4 to 5 years. John doesn't have to coach. He wants to coach. And so he's not just making the commitment toward football, which is important to me and important to a lot of people, important to this nation as far as football is concerned. It's on Sundays. And Friday nights and sometimes Saturdays. Football is the only sport that owns days. Right. It's like, this is our day. This is football day.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we put everything aside. But what John is doing, he's making sure that he's coaching life. He's coaching life for these young people, and so I just really appreciate him and how he's doing it, and in the way that he goes about his business.
Yeah, he does it the right way. That's for sure. And again, Smoky Hill they'll rebound, but there are a lot of other teams that played this week, and there was a lot of great high school sports. And
absolutely,
I probably have to give a shout out to my boy Scotty Yates at Kent Denver. He doesn't get a lot of recognition, but quietly is probably one of the best coaches in this state. He's been at Kent Denver. He took that program over when it was Kent Country Day.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, they're Kent Country Day, and football was like an activity.
We called it Kent Country Daycare.
Yeah, back
in the day.
Absolutely. and he's turned that into a 3A powerhouse, and they're the defending state champions. They're, I believe, 1 or 2-0 this year. Scott's has won over 300 games at that school.
Yeah,
he's the only football coach that Ken has ever had.
I had a chance to play coach against him.
Right.
And man, we lost the game by 3 points. Carl Mecklenburg was there at the time, and his son. Right. When I coached against him, and I remember Carl asking me, he was looking at the film because I was the offensive coordinator, and that offense that we were running looked very familiar. I was running the Broncos offense with some guys when I was out, So but that team was so disciplined. And that team, they really beat us on penalties. Just, getting us to jump off sides and being undisciplined. But they never beat themselves.
Right.
And that's why he has so many victories.
Well, the reason why is because his coaching staff has been there just as long as he has. So it is a process.
Right.
They don't change anything. They're going to run a 5-2 defense as their defense coordinator right before Carl.
Right.
I left, and then Carl came in, and they run the same thing, and nobody's making a lot of mistakes.
They do what they do.
Do what they do. You stop.
What did Denzel say? It's like penicillin.
Right.
Just give it time. It's gonna work. We're gonna run what we run. We're gonna do what we do. We're gonna run what we run. We're gonna do what we do.
Well, I'll give you guys some score updates also from last night for you. Regis Jesuit and Cherry Creek, they squared off. Cherry Creek won 17-3.
Right.
That was a pretty good game. Lakewood played Fountain Fort Carson, and they end up winning that game 31-21. There were some other great games around the city that took place here. Broomfield took on Legacy. Legacy has that quarterback that's going to UCLA. Legacy pulled that off 35-31. Mesa Ridge beat Canyon City 27-0. That's a 3A game. 5A Grandview and Chaparral squared off at 29-21. 29-12. Grandview came out on top in that one, and that's a 5A game. What else we have? 4A, Monarch and Dakota Ridge. Dakota Ridge is marked in the top 4. They're in the top 10 in the 4A, and they actually beat Monarch 38-9. So they opened up with a great game. Montrose and Delta squared off, and they're in 3A. That's a 3A game with Delta, but Montrose is still 4A, I'm assuming. They end up winning that 28-7. Arvada West took on Douglas County, and Arvada West took a loss 26-27. That sounded like it was a pretty tight game.
Yeah, and that's Smoky Hill's next opponent. Next
one?
Saturday. Arvada West, I'm sorry.
That should be a good game. Arvada West's head coach is the owner of Muscle Farm. He actually He actually came out of Colorado. He played at Arvada West. He did some time in the NFL itself, and so now he's coaching at his alma mater also. So it's good to see coaches coming and giving back, to where they were at and what they're missing. So, and as we keep reading down some of the scores here, another 3A, 4A, Lewis Palmer took on Evergreen, and Lewis Palmer was the victor in that, 29-24. Grand Junction took on Fairview in a 5A challenge, and Fairview won that 21-12. Pine Creek, the defending 4A state champ, took on Falcon, and they were the victor, 35-13 for their kickoff. And Hinckley took on Far Northeast Warriors, and that was a game that it looks like everybody wanted to be at. It ended up winning 21-20 Hinckley, and that's turned into a rivalry. I heard it was a great game last night. Wish we could have been there to attend that. Brush took on Fort Morgan in 3A, 47-7. Fort Morgan was the victor in that. Frederick versus Conifer. Conifer came out with 3-0 wins, so that was an all-defensive game.
And those are some really good games last night. But there was another game, and I'm glad you didn't mention in that rundown.
Absolutely.
That just shocked the Colorado sports world.
Can I at least take a guess?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna take a guess for
you're gonna. We're gonna talk about that one.
You're gonna talk about Valor.
Valor, number 1 ranked Valor goes down
to Pomona.
28-14. And that game was really close because at halftime it was only 7-0 Pomona. And then in the second half, Pomona really turned up the heats, and scored 3 more times, and that pretty much was the ball game.
You're absolutely right. And I'm going to tell you guys something that I've been seeing in this high school realm, and this is the thing that I wonder, can Valor take on? You set the tone for so many years to be the team in Colorado.
Right.
And it just like every great team that comes, you're going to have your ups and downs. But now they have to remember, when everyone is aiming to play, they're looking at Valor, the state champ. Valor this. So now they're bringing their best to you.
Even though they didn't win it last year, they were ranked number 1 this year.
Yeah, it's just been so much talk that Valor this and Valor that. How much can the young men and women, and nothing to take away from Valor's program, that's what you're supposed to build. But now, can Valor bring their game up every week as if it's a championship? Because to a team, to them, we want to beat you, because at some point in time, you guys were beating us, you were running through us, and you were the team. And the teams before you set the tone for this. Right. Can Valor answer the bell this year to being that bullseye, and they're not even the state champ?
JJ, there's one thing to overcome adversity like Smoky Hill's trying to do, right now with John Traham. There's another thing to overcome success. True. Success can be a bigger weapon to your shield than adversity can be.
Yeah, and what Valor needs to understand is that every game that they play for the opponent is the championship game.
Absolutely.
Right.
That is the championship
game. That's their championship. Even if they don't win another game.
It doesn't matter. That's probably the best that they'll play. They're going to bring their A game. They're ready for all week.
And there's a lot of teams looking for that moral victory. Even if they don't get that victory, they're looking for that moral victory. They're looking for a halftime score that says, "Oh, we're winning." And then what happened last night? Like I said, there's just if we could keep close to Valor because of their reputation, then they're feeling good about themselves, and they say, "Well, shoot, let's just go ahead and win this thing."
Yep. Can Valor answer the bell this year to that? It's a different season. It's a different season, a different group, and kids really want to say we're just as good as you guys are.
Right. This year they probably are just as good as Valor because Valor's lost a lot of people.
But they were still ranked number one.
They still ranked number one, but that's more based on the play of McCaffrey, their quarterback.
Yeah.
His older brother is now at Stanford, who was probably one of the best running backs the state has seen.
Behind Philip Lindsay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, he was good. He was good. I'll give you that.
I'm just going to tell the truth, and anybody can debate me if they want to. But I'll tell you, Caffrey was good, but he was not a Philip Lindsay.
No, and you didn't.
I'm just saying.
Hold on. Time out. And you heard crickets after that. Too, right? Nobody did. What we weren't gonna try to argue with you.
I know. I just wanted to. I always say that. I got to defend.
Yeah, you heard crickets.
McCaffrey is special, but I got to give credit where credit is
due. And you heard crickets. And you're talking about a guy that was an All-American.
Yeah.
and me, I was an All-American here in Colorado, and I didn't dispute you.
No.
So see what I'm saying? I didn't dispute you. I agree with you on that one.
Absolutely. You guys want me to finish these scores for you because I know you want to.
Go right ahead.
Now you had Chatfield took on Heritage in a big game. Heritage was coming off a loss to Cherry Creek in week 1, so they took on Chatfield and they bounced back 30-20 in that victory. Highlands Ranch took on Pueblo Centennial, and they ended up winning that 14-13. Highlands Ranch in a tight victory there, and that was a 5A. And as we move on, we had Prairie View versus Horizon 5A. Horizon came out victor 39-6. And let's see what other scores we have. George Washington took on Lincoln in a DPS, nice little inner city rivalry. George Washington won 50-0, so that was a tough loss for Lincoln to take there. Widefield took on Mitchell.
Hold up, two former Patriots over here smiling. Like, 2 former Patriots over here smiling. Just like 50 to what?
Good for them to be back.
Yeah, 50-0. Nice.
Look, I didn't try. I didn't want to try and stay on that subject over there because I knew what it was coming to, and I'm like, I know they're. But yeah, 50. You guys are back. So
Hail to the mighty Patriots.
Hey, absolutely. Rifle took on Moffett County and they won 41-0. Holy Family took on Mount View, and that was a 49-43. Holy Family was the victor. Vista Ridge took on North Glen. Vista Ridge won 48-21. Greeley West took on North Ridge. Greeley West won that 56-13. And Fort Collins took on Poudre 20-39 in that victory. So, I mean, anything while we're there, and we'll keep reading through some scores. I know there might be something you want to touch on there, too. Just cut me off as we're moving. Westminster and Rangeview. Westminster beats Rangeview 44-6. And that pretty much tops it off as we're looking for some other scores, 5A, 4A, that I'm looking to bring out that was important. I know Denver South took on Loveland last night, and they lost. It was 30-18.
Get out of here.
Loveland, yes.
Get out of here. Well, Loveland's a good school. But
they are.
Loveland's always been good.
Yep.
But South.
Well, I had a chance to.
Speaking of Lindsay.
I had a chance to do this game, and it was what took place was a eye awakening. South should have won, but they didn't win.
Okay.
Loveland played their game that they were supposed to play. They did everything they were supposed to do, and they were able to achieve a victory in this game. So it was a great game. Loveland was the victor. Hats off to them. They did what they were supposed to. And to me, week 1. Everybody found out what adjustments you need to make and what you need to do.
Let me clarify this. We're talking about young people. So I'm not trying to dog any young people.
No.
But when you say South should have won.
To me, South had opportunities to win like they were supposed to.
Okay. So
certain things took place, just time management for themselves, little things they did that as athletes you have to understand, take advantage of the moment. You have to. Just like Valor, you're going to have to play up because people want to beat you.
Right.
South
is that same way in
and
Denver.
that way, yes, they are that same way, so they have to understand that. And did they have it? They had it. But, that's the thing that first game needed to open their eyes up to see.
Well, and Fred can relate to this because you saw Joe Louis fight, right? Back in the day. No, just
I worked his corner.
Yeah, okay. But Joe Louis in the late 30s, early mid 40s, he was a champion. He would go into these towns where everything was against him. The refs, the judges, everybody. And Joe Louis, all he needed to know was, can the referee count to 10? That's all he needed to know. Can the referee count to 10 and I'll be okay? Because the whole, that climate right there, you know what the climate was. And so that South, a lot of teams have to take that same attitude. Can the referee count to 10? We're going to knock you out no matter what the adversities and things that come about. We're going to do what we need to do when we need to do it. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, not going to cut it because there's winning and then there's losing.
Yeah, that is a fact.
So we're going to come right back to you with some more scores. And I want to remind you, but this segment is brought to you by Hope. You can contact them at 303-762-7986. If you need assistance or you want to come volunteer, and especially if you want to donate, just give them a call because they are, helping our people excel. That's what Hope stands for. And you could do a lot of things, but without Hope, you can't do anything.
And so we'll give you a couple more scores here. Wheat Ridge versus Littleton. Wheat Ridge was the victor, 35-6 in that win. Kent Denver took on Gunnison. They were the victor, 41-13. Kent Denver. Again, the Rock Canyon versus Smoky Hill. Rock Canyon was the victor, 54-20. We talked a little bit in depth about that game being the game of the week. Manual took on Pinnacle. Manual was the victor, 20-6. Manual is starting to come back to life there. They have a new principal that has been inserted to that school. It's good to see new life coming into a city school that has a lot of tradition, a lot of history that's tied to it. So to see that coming back in their sports shows that the kids are buying in and what's taking place. So it's good to see them hitting getting some victories in their sports. Again, Pomona upsets Valor in the first game of the season for them, and that was 28-14, which was a good game at some point in time from what I hear. But, hey, we all know Valor will bounce back. They have a great coaching staff to do so. I know a couple of the coaches out there, so I know they're probably in meetings right now, if we want to say. Sheridan took on Arvada. Sheridan 14, Arvada 27. I'm sorry about that. Denver South again took on Loveland, and that changed that score, actually. I apologize earlier. Denver South 18, Loveland 36. And as we round out that, we're at Mount Vista versus Mountain Range, 38-0 Mount Vista. Silver Creek took on Discovery Canyon. That game was 36-29 Silver Creek. Kennedy took on Thomas Jefferson in another city rivalry. Kennedy was the victor, 27-18. Adams City took on Thornton and came out victor 21-14, which is a good game. Adams City is continuing on what they've done last year. They actually started winning some games last year from a drought, I think, almost of 4 to 5 years of not winning a game. Okay. So that new coach out there is really starting to get those kids to buy in, and that's a great thing when you see that. Gateway took on Mullen. Mullen won 41-0. Denver East took on Fruita Monument. Fruita Monument won that game 40-26. Bear Creek took on Castleview. Bear Creek won that game 14-3. So that was a little not low. You're seeing some low scoring, some high scoring, some off balance games. It's going to be interesting to see how all these high school teams start to bring it together here as the season moves on. It's either it's a low scoring game where they had a defensive battle and you wonder what took place. Could no one get their offense going? Because that offensive chemistry takes a little while to really start to flow. So, and then Columbine took on Overland, and that was 28-0.
Oh, who won that game?
That was Columbine.
Columbine beat Overland 28-0.
28-0.
Okay.
So that was a tough one for Overland. I know that everybody looks to bounce back, but I'll tell you something. On our show the other night that we do on Meet the Preps, we talked about that. and my buddy Darnell Ward, he picked Columbine to win state.
Did he?
Yeah.
And they're ranked. What they ranked? Number 9, I think, in state.
They're. I want to say they're a little higher than that.
I think they're number 7.
Yeah.
Okay, somewhere in there. So, so they're a good football team.
Yeah, they are
without question.
Absolutely.
We support the preps. We also want to let you know that we support even the little league teams. The YALs, the police athletic league. So if you want some information to be brought out about your little league teams, because we're about the young people. That's what we're really about. And if you want some information about your young people, I want you, contact us. You can contact me on Twitter at Chris M. Brewer 13. So that's my Twitter page, or just see me on Facebook. But contact me, and then you want to talk about your prep teams. We got to remember, like, I played in the NFL, but I was a Pirate, Police Athletic League Pirate, longer than I was anything else. I was a Pirate longer than I was a Patriot. I was a Pirate longer than I was a Wildcat. I was a Pirate longer than I was a Bronco or a Bear. So the Little League is very important, and that's where your foundation, not for football, not just for football, but your foundation for life. And I say that to segue into the fact that Snoop Dogg is bringing his league here to the Colorado area.
Yep.
And I kind of want to discuss it a little bit. I don't want to get too deep, but we got to see if that's going to be good or bad for Colorado, because we're still looking for as well. Let me put it this way. I'm going to say it like I feel it. As long as he's about the kids, as long as anybody's out there, they're really truly about the kids, then then it's a good thing.
Well, I'll second that. Anything that's going to get these kids off the streets and doing something other than hanging out with their homeboys and getting in heaven knows what, I'm all for. So whatever Snoop Dogg is doing, if he saves 1, 2, 3 kids from making that choice, and life is all about choices, either you're going to make a right or a wrong one, I'm all for it. So it can't be all bad.
You just want them to stay off your lawn.
I just want
You just want these kids to stay off your lawn.
I'm not worried about the lawn. I just want them to stay off the streets and not get. Because getting on my lawn ain't going to get you in any trouble.
I've said this before.
Getting on the streets will get you in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, JJ, I've said this before. I said how once Obama said if he had boys, he wouldn't let them play football.
Right.
Well, Obama, you didn't grow up like we grew up. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of kids out there that need football. And the guys that I played with in Little League, including Troy Lindsay. I used to block for Troy back when we were Pirates. All these guys that I play with in Little League are good people now. They're taking care of families. They're doing the right thing. I can't think of one guy that I played with in Little League that's out there in the streets doing something that they shouldn't be doing. Yeah. I'm not saying no one's perfect, but but it sets a foundation to do the right thing. And if you get out of school at 2:30, 3 o'clock, and the rest of the afternoon is yours, and you finished homework at 3 o'clock, then what? You need and boys. Taking nothing away from the girls at all, but from boys, we need to let off some estrogen.
Right.
No testosterone. The girls have estrogen. We got to let that. We got to run into something. We got to bump into somebody. We got to tackle something. We need to throw something. That's just how we naturally are. We learn different and we do things different. And if you can get that out on a football field. I know that was a big benefit for you growing up.
Yeah, definitely. And I had a lot of built-up frustration just about a lot of different things. Just life, And playing Little Leagues, like you said, I was a Rampart Ram forever. I played Rampart Rams all the way from Little League football all the way till I was in high school. And then playing with I played with the Denver Hawks from 6th grade all the way till I graduated. So, that helped me a lot, like in the summer. Some of my friends are out getting in trouble doing things that they probably weren't supposed to be doing with me. I'm on the road all summer, playing a tournament every weekend,
You're too tired to think about trying to get in trouble.
Absolutely. Too tired to think about anything else. Yeah. And plus, I have more fun playing basketball with my friends than I ever could going out chasing girls with my other homeboys from high school and everything. That's not a good time and everything. But, that's also all good and well.
But if you chase your dreams, girls will chase you.
They'll chase exactly.
Well, and I think it's something that we all need to make a change to embrace that they are paying attention to how to make the sport safer. I think everyone is trying to exile the sport. Oh, it's bad. Oh, it's this and it's that. But what we need to embrace the fact that they're really trying to make the game safer. So this is, to me, if any time you're going to put your child in the sport is now. Because now is the time where they're going to take the right precautions, the procedures to make sure your child doesn't have these recurrent injuries. And I think that's what everybody is feeding off of the wrong way. Like, pulling my kid away versus saying, hey, this is a perfect time. Soccer has more concussions than football.
Yes.
And that's on record.
And that's women's soccer.
Yeah. And then and then cheerleading is one of the most dangerous sports in the nation with the most injuries. But we want to key in on this sport because with the NFL and all of that and what they've had and the lawsuits, and understanding one thing though, let's embrace it to say, look, they're trying to find ways to make it safer, and they are doing that. Exactly. And we've seen that taking place. You can never take away from injuries, uncertain things that can happen. That's in every sport. So now we need to embrace that and love that because this is the right time for it.
Yeah, they're doing all they can too. Not like back when we played, all the coaches, they were just, dads or just people, just anybody, anybody that had the time to coach. Now you have to be, what is that, like heads up certified, I believe?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You need to be certified. You need to be able to teach the kids how to tackle correctly. That way we're trying to prevent injuries,
I was talking to Troy this past summer, and he couldn't believe I remembered this. There were times where we were over at the at Skyland Park, and that's what we called it, and that's what it was, and we would show up for practice. And no coach would show up. No coach would show up. And Troy was our coach. He would tell us what to do, how much to run, what plays we're running, what defense we're running, and everything else. So
Troy who?
Troy Lindsay. I'm sorry. Troy Lindsay.
He's
I'm
still
sorry.
Doing that to this day.
Yeah, he hasn't stopped. He's still coaching, and I love him for it. But Troy, we would show up to practice, and you talking about how dad showed up. We didn't have a dad to show up. They may show up on the weekends. Get the fifth out your hand, and we'll go ahead and then we're gonna play this game.
Uh-huh.
But the fact of the matter is, it was that camaraderie that we shared.
Right.
And here's the big thing about concussions, and it's real simple. Stay hydrated. 1, 2. If kids are even if they did get a concussion because they don't build up enough steam to get a lot of concussions, but even if they did, you got to sit them out. You got to sit them out. You got to sit them out 1 week, 2 weeks. Their brains are still developing. You got to sit them, or maybe even sit them out. Period. So that their brains can stop rattling in their heads. Right. Because and then we did it when we played. We were blessed that we didn't have more injuries than we did because if we got a concussion, and I know we did. We shook it off. How many fingers do you see? Right. Do you see? You guessed it, and then you got right back out.
And they gave you the smelling sauce.
Yeah, if they had it, if they had it,
yeah.
I never will forget the time. I got my bell rung, and I was like, I'm fine. Just somebody answer that phone.
Absolutely.
There was no phones on the sidelines back in the 70s. So or 80s. So we're doing better, and football is needed. Plain and simple. And there's one reason why they on Sundays.
Right. Absolutely. Well, the preps have done the preps for the weekend. I think everybody wants to know what's your next Buff talk here. You said it was a Buffalo weekend.
It's a Buffalo weekend. It's a Buffalo weekend. I want to make sure that I remember, a man can go 6 months without food. A man can go 6 days without water. A man can go 6 minutes without air. But a man can't survive 6 seconds without hope. So we just want to thank our sponsors from Hope for this segment. We're going to move on to Buffalo football. CU, one of my favorite teams. I was my favorite team growing up. And the Buffalo, the CU Buffs, they played Hawaii in Hawaii. Don't know if anybody stayed up late enough to watch that game. It started at midnight.
I did.
Started at midnight and watched it till 3.
And I did not. But I did see the highlights, and I did read up on it. I wasn't one of those that stayed up till midnight. But the CU Buffs, they played Hawaii and lost that game in the final minutes.
It was a tough one.
And it was a tough game to lose. But these are the games they need to win.
Yeah.
These are the games that, you got to find a way to win that game at the end. And we were just talking about it earlier. There are no woulda, shoulda, couldas. This is a game that it was theirs to win. But here, I will say this, and I'm going to give somebody else the floor on this one. I will say this. When you go to Hawaii to play a football game, there's anywhere from 10 to 14 points that Hawaii gets just because you got to fly over. You're in Hawaii.
Exactly.
And you have to play football.
Right.
So, but that's a woulda, shoulda, coulda. But,
I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly what it is. It shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, teams, if they're serious about going to Hawaii and to play, a lot of the good teams, they go out 6-7 days in advance so they can adjust to the time zone.
They went out on Monday.
They went out 4 days in advance, and they still looked asleep at the start of the game. So I just don't get it. I mean, they brought in Mike McIntyre he was going to be the savior, and right now this program to me is treading water or getting worse.
You could have kept Embry.
Let's say like we feel it.
You could have kept Embry for it because he was building something.
He was building something,
right? And then we haven't built from that point. What McIntyre? This is the third year.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it like a Philly. Could have kept Embry.
Well, there's a lot of alumni from CU.
Crickets. Ain't nobody arguing with me. Yeah. Crickets. I'll wait for somebody arguing.
Well, no, because there's a lot of the alumni that said they should have kept Embry. They wasn't happy with the firing of Embry, and he really didn't do anything wrong. He inherited a horrible program from Hawkins, and it just keeps on matriculating. And it's, it is a bad deal. They're trying to get back to their roots. Black is back is what they were saying, and right now, black is a lighter shade of pale. It's not good.
They had their silver and black uniforms on it. I bet you like that, JJ.
Hey, definitely. Shout out to
What'd you think about the uniforms, JJ?
Honestly, I didn't even get a chance to check them out. But if they're silver and black, I'm definitely with that. I'm a Raiders fan. I know anyone is not trying to hear that. But it is what it is.
So they had
to associate losing with losing. So you and the Raiders got something in common. Y'all some losing. Y'all like losing.
Hey, true. We're coming up though.
Oh, here we go once again. Al Davis is gone, dead and buried.
Rest in peace, Al Davis.
Rest in peace.
Well, so they had the silver helmet, silver pants, white jersey.
Okay.
Really looked good. I have to give it to him.
You have to do that in the Pac-10. You got to keep up. As far as fashion. That's why I asked you about the fashion.
Definitely.
In the Pac-10, you got to keep up fashion-wise.
I got some serious
Pac-12. Yeah. Pac-12. I'm old school.
Yeah.
Especially with
you're showing your age.
Pac-8. Well, you back there with Pac-6, right, Fred?
I was back there in the Big 8.
He do. Okay.
Yeah, when they were playing good football, but
what? And here's the thing CU has to understand, too, is, the time is now. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, the fans and all that, and with the Emory. I just, I don't know. I haven't bought in, and I haven't denied it. I see the system they're putting in. It's showing like the intensity, but the only thing that matters is wins and losses.
That's it. That's
and like Fred said, it's like, well, when are we going to start calling a spade? And maybe that pressure needs to come out. Sometimes people respond better. And I like what Fred is saying, hey, maybe we need to start talking that more. And you guys are the first I've heard say something about that, because it needs to start being said. And maybe that spark maybe will spark them up a little bit more, because it's about getting the victories. And coming down in those moments, coaches have to make the right decisions, put the right personnel in, and make sure their team is getting the victory too.
And, we don't like talking about the kids, but you got to talk about the quarterback situation at CU is I just say it like I feel it, is abysmal. It wasn't very good in Hawaii. We'll see how it goes. McIntyre has attached his leadership to this young man at quarterback, and we got to see. But their receiver's running wide open. He couldn't hit him.
Yep.
He's throwing the ball all over the place. Hawaii, when the ball was up in the air, they figured it was a jump ball.
Well, at the end of the game, too. Well, like I said, if we're saying it, somebody else is at least thinking it.
Well, everybody's thinking it. They just don't say it because they don't want to get on the kids, and I don't want to get on the kids either.
Well,
but
it's not the kids; it's the coach at this point. Because at the end of that game, they had a chance to win that game. They had a chance at least, and they didn't really show any sense of urgency right there at the end, or have a game plan set up, ready to go, to make sure that they can at least get another playoff, at least get spike the football or something. I think it was 4th down, so they couldn't do that.
And then they're trying to play the referees.
CU's good on 4th and 5th down, though. We got to remember that. But we good at getting an extra down. I'm just saying that it didn't seem like they had a plan, and it's up to the coach to make sure you have a plan. And it's also up to the coach to make sure that you recruit the right players. And it's kind of frustrating for me of being a Colorado native as to why that CU, because they've done it before, can't recruit here in Colorado, in beautiful, colorful Colorado. And they've done it before. You can't say it hadn't been done.
You're absolutely right.
You can't say it hadn't been done. They've done it before. So if it's never been done, okay, I got it.
All you got to do is look at CSU. They're recruiting all these in-state kids, and they're competing.
In-state, out-of-state.
They're in bowls. They're doing everything right.
I'm going to tell you, one of CU's best players right now is right out of Denver. And, again, his name is Philip Lindsay.
Right.
And he's he's their best runner, and he's their best pass blocker. If you watch in every set, when it comes down to passing, the quarterback is most comfortable when he's in the game because he picks up blocks. No matter, he one of the smallest running backs you'll see, but when you as a quarterback can trust that your running back is going to have your back and pick up that blitzer like that, it gives you that extra second to want to make that. That's when I seen the best passes out of the quarterback during that game. Something may have happened to Phil during that game because he came out a little bit. He might have it's something. Who knows?
Okay,
but
he was grabbing his hamstring just a little bit. I did see that. He was grabbing his hamstring just a little bit. He didn't want anybody to know. He didn't want anybody to know that he was hurt.
This kid was, man, I seen the kid tear his ACL and then re-tear the ACL.
Wow.
Basically playing because it can't. He is a football player. And that's what he does. And he can play, but he plays the game to win. He's a verbal leader, and it's going to start having to circle around him a lot more. Teams need to do that. You need the flow around a person that's a verbal leader, people are believing in, but also that's stepping up. And their quarterback needs confidence right now. And when you just have somebody on your neck every time when it's time to throw, it makes it tough.
Real tough.
Well, again, that goes back to the recruiting situation. That boils right back down to the head coach. Boils back down to the coaching staff.
I love Fred. I fell in love with Fred today, you guys, because he just tells the truth. And there's no, he's not hiding it. And that there's nothing more. And you're absolutely right. Fred, why do you think they don't recruit here, though? Why? What is the problem? Why do we see more California kids on CU's roster? And I know these coaches came from there, but why?
Well, that was my point exactly. Mike McIntyre is familiar with those kids in California coming from San Jose State. He thinks he's got an in down there, and they think that on account of that USC and UCLA and Oregon to a certain extent, they have a lot of success with California kids because that's a high school hotbed, that if you're from California, you're going to be able to excel here at CU. Unfortunately, CU's in the Pac-12, and now they're playing against other California kids. So if you a 2A or 1A kid at CU going against a 5A kid from USC, who's going to be the winner? So he can't out-recruit those schools out there on the West Coast, so why is he trying?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of other great players in Texas. There's a lot of other great players here in his own backyard. I see a lot of great players from Colorado going to Stanford. They're going to Nebraska. They're going to everywhere else, staying here at home.
See, I'm not even, if you can't do home. See, Nebraska, when they were good,
right,
they recruit everybody who grew up in Nebraska played at Nebraska.
Right.
If you were good, and if you were even kind of good, you walked on at Nebraska because you were loyal to the state.
Right.
And if CU can't regain that, you got to recruit. See, a kid. Let's just take McCaffrey, and I'm gonna use his name because he was brought up earlier. He goes out to Stanford. He's gonna be a good player at Stanford. He may be a great player at CU because he's at home. He's getting mom's cooking. He's familiar. He'll be a better player in state. A lot of kids are like that because they're 18, 19 years old.
Definitely.
A lot of kids are better in state than they are, and they have a better opportunity than they would be out of state. Not that saying that you don't go out of state for whatever reason.
But do you think it's because of pride?
What do you mean? Say that again.
I think it's because of pride. Because you're watching somebody that when you're home, you typically get to see them all the time when you're coming up.
Oh, I see.
So you see what I mean? Hometown pride. Right. So it gives that neighborhood like I'm playing for my state school.
For my state
when
school.
I go and play, this means more. So now when kids come from out of state, they see that influence and what matters. That's one of the reasons why Alabama and all those schools, Florida, they're where they are.
They take care of home first.
Right. We're going to conquer home. The coach that left CSU and went to Florida. What's his
Jim McElwain.
He said it. We have to win our backyard in recruiting first. Right. You do that, now you got pride on your team. Right. Now you go and bring those onesie-twosie players. That's what Nebraska did. Nebraska would bring in a couple of players here and there
from New Jersey or wherever,
to get your speed and get your extra. Yeah. But you got to get that nucleus.
Right.
CU doesn't have a nucleus. The identity is not there. Who are you? And when kids come from out of state, it's still kind of like, well, who are you guys?
And CSU is taking over this state,
right?
You know, and
a lot of Buff alumni do not like to hear that, but that is something that is starting to happen. And what's going to even be dangerous is if CSU gets into the Big 12 to where now they have opportunity to compete on the national level for a national championship.
Right, but like I said, you were talking about taking care of home first. I remember when Bill McCarthy took over Coach Mack at CU, and the first guy he recruited was Don DeLuzio out of Pomona. And he said, we got to take care of home first. Then he got Eric McCarty. He came in, and he got the best players in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, he took care of home. Then all of a sudden, he gets the Alfred Williams. He goes out and he starts going out and getting all these monsters out of Bieniemy and out of California.
Yeah.
He got and so that's Johnson. What happened.
And then these guys, Charles Johnson, my frat brother out of Detroit, and then these guys will adapt that hometown pride. They'll adapt.
They live here now.
They live. They leave. That's what I'm saying. How come you can't recruit at CU? These guys started. They come here and then they attach themselves to that CU ability to say this is a great state and I'm going to play for this great state.
Well, hearing these guys that are great alumni for CU. And their kids are coming up, they're going everywhere else, and I ask them, how come their kids aren't going to CU? He said, because the CU coaches didn't recruit them.
Yep.
I said, you got to be kidding me.
Yep.
I live 20 minutes away. I'm just saying, and that was that gap between me and Chauncey.
Right.
I live 20 minutes away, and every Oklahoma recruited me, Nebraska recruited me, Texas A&M, so, and of course I ended up going to Arizona. CU didn't even say hello to me. and so, so we're missing out on a lot of kids in the Denver metro area that could be, like I said, they may be good somewhere else, but they may be great at CU because of that hometown pride thing you were just talking about.
It's just, I don't know. JJ, you came out of here. What do you think? How did it feel? You know what I mean? Knowing you want, coming up, how would it have felt for you being an athlete and just knowing CSU and CU want you to play there?
I would have felt great. Mainly, like you said, it's the hometown pride thing, and I would have been able to eat my mother's dinner, whenever I wanted to, My friends can come watch me play. My teachers can come watch me play. Anybody can come watch me play that I've grown up with.
Absolutely.
And then when you go out of state, you're kind of...
And if you had a girlfriend, maybe.
Yeah, if you had a girlfriend, maybe she can come watch you too, Yeah. You go to college, things might change, but...
But the fact of the matter is you play a little bit harder because of those people that are there watching you.
Exactly. Now,
just a little bit.
I know for a fact if my mom would have been able to see me play college ball, I would have went crazy.
Absolutely.
Not to say that I wasn't playing hard and trying my hardest, but I feel like I would have been able to kick it into extra gear because I know my mom's understands.
Absolutely. And see, that's why CU is where they're at right now. Until you respect where you're at and really take that on and take the pride in that, like Fred said, why are you going after the 2A players that you're getting in California when Oregon, USC, Cal, Stanford, they're pulling the top 5A school players.
Right.
That's where they're going.
In their state.
In their state. So why go and get their grade of players when you can come to your state and get their top grade, get our top grade of players, and then go pull your Alfred Williams, your CJs, your Hagens, and all of these players out of these other states where you go into. Why not do that? Take it that way. Stop competing with the big boys until you're ready to come in there. Build your program to be based around your hometown pride. You want to play at the Buffs because this is who we are.
Right.
But the Buff roster can't be a California roster. I just can't see a team winning like that. That's like saying USC's roster is dominant of Texas kids.
No, it's not going to work.
You would never see that.
Right. And matter of fact, when Texas, that big game where Texas played USC, when Lindell White and all them were there,
right?
You know, it was really California versus Texas.
Yeah.
You know, it had Texas kids playing against California kids. There was very few kids
and you got
who crossed over.
Right. Reggie Bush came from where? California.
Right.
You know, Lindell White came from here and goes there.
But he adapted to that California mentality.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. But you're just saying, okay, he's a one-off. He wasn't even from there. They have those one-off players.
Right.
That's the process that CU has to go by.
Yeah. And they haven't been doing it.
Yeah, and we have big linemen, we have big tight ends.
And Embry had a chance to do that. Embry he was working on that. That recruiting class he was building on. He had it. Happening.
He had it.
Right.
But for whatever reason they chose not to. It's politics. It's the business, and it is what it is.
Winning is everything. But you got to give you got to give a man 4 years. I don't want to rehash what happened to him, 6 years ago. You know, whatever.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, you do. No.
It's like the man that said, meaning no disrespect, but your breath stinks. I mean, I said meaning no disrespect. That doesn't mean you can say anything you want.
Right.
You know, and so meaning no disrespect, CU's breath stinks right now. You know, and they need to get their breath together. They need to do what they need to do. They need to get some Bianca. They need to get some Tic Tacs. Whatever they need to do, and they need to do it in the way that you're saying it. We're not arguing with you at all. I mean, I wish someone was here to say, CU's on this way, and they're going to do what they're doing. You're not going to get that.
But nobody can say that. I mean, you talk to their alumni. You listen to other people that are in our business in the media, and they're graduates of CU, and they're disgusted.
Yeah.
They're fed up. They need to get somebody in there that's going to make a commitment to keep these Colorado kids here at home first. CSU, that's why they're doing so well, and that's why I'm a fan of CSU. They're keeping Colorado kids here, and they can compete. As much as the secret is kept, these kids from Colorado can play.
Absolutely.
They compete. They've had great coaching, and they have no problem going anywhere else and stepping right up, stepping on the field, and competing.
And I'll be honest, Colorado plays a tough grade of football.
Yeah.
We line up, we smack you right in the mouth.
Right.
These kids know how to adapt to any system. They can come in there and they can bang. We are a state of football that bangs. We don't do a lot of finesse. And I think that's one thing but we're a banging group of kids. Mm-hmm. And that's what you need to win it. Let's just be honest. When you look at the state, when you look at the national championship, those teams were banging. Mm-hmm. Oregon, great. They have the finesse. But they didn't win it because they don't have that punch you in the mouth mentality. In Colorado football, we do have the players that do that. I mean, that's just what it takes to win it when it gets to that level.
And it's been that way. But, like a lot of things, image is everything. And Colorado doesn't have that image right now. But that's why City Prep Radio is here.
Boy, absolutely.
Okay, because we're going to build that up. As far as this particular, segment of what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And how we're doing it. I mean, I'm not saying that we can't go anywhere else and we don't celebrate kids all over this great country.
Yep.
But for right now,
this is where it's at. Well, now tell me something. You had a chance to go play to the highest levels. When you're dealing with colleges and you're coming in, you're competing and the banging and all that takes place, what is that process? What is the mind state these young men need to have when they're making that transition from home cooking with mom every day to now this coach is in control and now I got to take my same mentality to go out and represent? So what is the mentality a lot of these kids need to have making that next level, or for those that want to make that transition to college? I mean, share your experience in that category there.
We want to remind everybody the name of this show is Prep to Pros, and now we're talking about the two-part between the prep and the pros. And so what that mindset is, and it's real simple. When you have to figure out what's best for you. But for most young people, I mean, as far as going into college, staying at home is what's best. Right. For most young people, in-state tuition, in-state food, if you're going on a scholarship or not. But when you find yourself, and this is something I've said to my own children, when you find yourself by yourself, what I mean by that is this: when you're the only one getting up in the morning and all your friends are still asleep, then you're the one. When you are in front of the line and everybody else is in back of the line, don't want to go up first, then you're the one. If you do what everybody else does, you're going to get what everybody else gets.
Right.
And so all I'm saying is that mentality of, and let's just stick with Colorado, for instance. I went to Arizona, University of Arizona, and what happened there was, I'm a Colorado kid coming out of there, and there wasn't many of us. Brett Hundley, Brett Hundley Sr., he came with me. Dennis State Wright, and David Jackson, some of the few players that came out. And we were always considered nice guys until we got on the football field. They're like, oh, nice guy from Colorado. That's one of my nicknames, nice guy. You know Chris, nice guy from Colorado, until we got on the football field. And we did just what you said. We thumped.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We thumped. They're like, oh, boy, these dudes can hit. Brett Hundley, his son, congratulations to him. He's doing a great job. Mm-hmm. He did a great job at UCLA. And he's doing a great job at with the Green Bay Packers right now.
Right.
It's one of their draft choices. He's doing he's going to be an excellent quarterback. But these are the type of guys that could have came back to, Brett's the type of guy that could have came to CU if CU had an in. CU had an in with his father, but CU never had a long-term relationship with the Montbello community, with the Denver community, with the Metro community.
CU doesn't understand, by them just showing up, these kids would be like, I want to go there.
Exactly.
It's because they understand they've been branded more with CU, even in losing, than they've been branded with these other schools, because this is where I'm from. How have they been branded? Where are you from? Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado. Where do you live? Colorado. What do you do? Colorado. I go to Colorado. I'm out of Colorado. So Colorado is your brand that comes from you internally.
I'm branded football-wise, or I was branded football-wise because of what CU did. Not so much by what the high school players are doing, but by what CU and CSU, by all means, has done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
McCartney came in and started building that up. He was ready. We were ready to roll with that.
Yeah.
And I gag on his name right now because I was just thinking about it. He went to Oklahoma because he went to Oklahoma after McCartney left. He recommended the defensive coordinator who actually ended up at Oklahoma
State. He's actually the head coach of Boulder right now. Why is his name?
It's gagging. But what we end up doing is
Simmons.
Yeah. And what we end up doing is hiring Rick Neuheisel.
Yep.
Who took us back to where we were before McCartney got there.
Well,
and we've been going back ever since.
And that's the thing where I'll give McCartney something. Neuheisel. Neuheisel did recruit. He went out of state, but he did recruit here. Neuheisel the one went got Dan Graham, Roman Hollowell. He did get top players out of the state.
Well, but he's living off of McCartney.
Yes.
He's not living off of. He doesn't have that Colorado feel. He's a carpetbagger.
But my thing is,
I'm serious. He's a carpetbagger.
But why not? There's nothing wrong with following that.
But he didn't follow it with his heart.
He just was doing it because he was just needed to. Yeah.
But Neuheisel was like, I'm going. He had that mentality. I'm going to the next best thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's shiny and he sees it on the ground, he's going to try to pick it up.
Yeah,
and that was Neuheisel.
Yeah, they had. You have to understand.
And he proved that out.
If you want to be physical, perfect. You want to have a physical brand. You need to grab Colorado kids, and then you need to go grab a couple of finesse players out of state. Mm-hmm. You only need to go grab one or two out there. That's what you need to get. It's easier to put your bid in to go grab one or two finesse players at another state out there than it is to try and go grab all of them.
Right.
It's a tough thing to do. It's something that needs to happen, but it's why try and go after all of them? You have to make sure that you really put your know-how into the ones that you want. You know what I mean? The kids that you need to have. And kids in your backyard should automatically feel that I'm going to see a letter from CU.
Right.
You're not wasting anything by putting letters in these kids' mailbox to let them, from the beginning, CU should be sending almost every junior in the state of Colorado that potentially wants to play college football a letter.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the saddest thing you see that, and it's not to bash CU. We're not saying this is not that moment because we want those young men to change around and get things going. It's just you want to see that change. I mean, we've seen Oregon go from from a nobody to one of the top schools in the nation overnight. And that wasn't based on winning games.
That was based on that Nike money.
That's
what turned seriously. That's what turned the program around.
Yes,
started with track, and then they just carried over to football, and now it's going to carry over to basketball. Nike, that is their school.
Absolutely, and these kids. You got to change to the day and time of what it is. I mean, these kids, they want to look a certain way. Yeah. They want to feel a certain way, and they feel they play better, and that's fine. That's the generation. You got to adapt to that.
Look good, play good.
Yeah, look good, play good. I came out of a generation where just give me a jersey, coach, and we'll play. But now it's like, wow, I'm embracing that because it's anything to give your kids the edge, you want to do that. Same reason why CU now is opened up. And they got great uniforms now, and they're changing that process around. So I see it taking place. I see some things going on that needs to happen there. So, we just have to keep hoping and moving forward that, CU takes on that. CSU, I know they CSU kicks off today, correct?
Yeah, they play Savannah State.
So that's going to be an interesting one because they get that win. The talk is going to start happening. Winning those games that you're supposed to win is something that really is going to drive people to that next level, and CU has to win the games they need to. And this was a game they were favored to win.
They were favored to win. They thought Hawaii would be a cupcake, and it didn't work. And let me say this, and I want your guys' opinion. I think McIntyre needs to be relieved. I'm putting my plug in once again for Dave Logan. He knows these high school kids. He knows them. I mean, he really knows them, and he knows their daddies. He used to compete against all their dads and whatnot. Dave Logan needs to come over and resurrect this program because this guy bleeds black and gold. When he is at a game and he's sitting up in the press box, and he can't even sit in the press box because he's busy screaming and hollering and stomping his foot. He wants CU to win so bad. You need that type of leadership at that program. You need somebody to sell that in the home to make these kids stay at home, and he can do that.
Yeah, I think with his fan following that he has here in the state in high school football, I think you're absolutely right. He gives that one in on recruiting right away. He will be that guy to bring Colorado high school players into CU, but also know how to go out of state and grab those onesie-twosie players to really help his program.
Right.
So, I mean, Fred, you're bringing up if the talk doesn't start now after this, it has to because it taking that loss to Hawaii was one of the toughest things to see for CU. But will another alumni take a chance on CU and CU giving them a chance?
Dave Logan's automatic. Dave Logan would bring this CU program back to life in a way that we've never seen before, even with McCartney. I will say this, though. Dave Logan loves his life. The way it is right now, he gets to do Bronco games on the weekends. He gets to still coach high school football. And he gets to do everything he wants to do. So Dave Logan is loving his life.
But do you think, though, he would push all of that aside to go have a chance to coach at CU?
He would already have done it if he could do it. Well, they would have already hired Dave. There was a couple times there where Dave was wanting to do it, and then they didn't go after Dave. And
they didn't go after Dave.
And now he's at a point where, you know what, now you want me, and I don't necessarily want to change my lifestyle now.
Well, Dave Logan wants to coach because he applied at some other college jobs, so it's not like he doesn't want to coach college, and his life isn't that set that he wouldn't coach college. I guarantee you, if CU, the athletic director, came and said, Dave, we want to interview you. We want you to be head coach of CU. How fast do you think he'd be up there to bowl?
If what you're saying is true, because I played with Dave, what you're saying is true, then I'm all for it. But I'm just saying right now, Dave loves his life.
So, I think he loves his life too, but I think he wants his life to have a piece. I think he wants to have that piece to see, can he coach that next level. I think as a coach and knowing that, I think he wants to challenge himself to say, can I do that? Can I be the one to bring this school back? That's the piece that I do agree with Fred on. I think he is open to that. Even though he has it great where he goes, he calls the games, he coaches his high school. I think he's at the point, because if that was the case, Dave would be at the same high school he started at back in the day. Dave was Wheat Ridge, and now went to Arvada West and Chatfield and Mullen and Creek. And the thing of it is I think he's searching for that college job, and he wants that college job. But the reason why he stayed home is he wants a college job home. I think he's building his name to be here.
To get that CU job.
I want you guys to be right. Hey, I am not arguing that at all.
Hey, we can put a petition together now to start. I would love to see Logan go up. I think that would be excellent. I'm going to give you guys a couple updates for today's college games. Louisiana Monroe will play Georgia today. I don't know if that game is on. That's already on.
Georgia's blowing them out.
Yeah, so that's Louisiana Monroe. A lot of these teams, they pick those little one-off games to start off. So good game going. I know Tennessee Martin is playing Ole Miss. Stanford is kicking off against Northwestern.
Northwestern's beating them.
Northwestern's beating them. I root for Northwestern all the time. That's actually a school my son would like to attend. So, hey, keep pushing that out there. Colgate versus Navy today. Norfolk State is kicking off with Rutgers. Illinois State is playing Iowa. Richmond versus Maryland. We actually have Clemson, and they're playing Wake Forest today. No, they're playing Wofford. And they're actually winning that game right now. That's one of the games that's on. They're winning. That's a blowout, 35-7, and that's the end of the second. They're at halftime.
Clemson in the Final Four. I'm just going to put that out there right now. I didn't call my shot. But my son did go to Clemson, so, there you go.
Well, we know your opinion is jaded. As this program goes on, people realize that Chris speaks from the heart.
Absolutely.
And not a lot of common sense.
See, he got me back. He got me back. Wow. Shot fired. He got me back for that leather helmet comment I made about him earlier in the show.
You knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming.
You got Youngstown State. They're playing Pittsburgh today. Maine versus Boston College. Portland State versus Washington State. Kent State versus Illinois. The Illini had a coaching change. Now that's one that we have to kind of touch on. Their coach actually was fired last week.
Right.
For he had the incident came up where he was having players play that were injured, that he was pushing them to play. This is a topic that people need to touch more on, because yes, this is a game you'll never play at 100%, but in this transition, in this change, these are the things that are going to have to take place. Somebody got to stand up for these kids and allow them to heal up and get ready to go. And that's what parents need to see. With all this awareness, they're making those changes. The Illini stepped up and said, hey, we're firing our coach, and you're a week away from your first game. That's a big statement there to say we care. Whether it was politics or whatever that was, they stood up and said, you know what, we're not going to allow that abuse to take place. They need the right proper time to heal. It may be a concussion. It may be something like that. But they don't want those long-term injuries to affect that. How do you guys feel about that? Chris, you came out of an era. Fred, you came out of an era. JJ, you came out of an era. I came out of an era where we played injured. But talk about how Illinois has just set the bar high to say, if this comes down, we're not going to tolerate this, and this is going to ripple through. And we'll start with JJ and go around that way so we can all kind of – because this is a big topic here. Illinois is kicking off the season without their head coach that's been there up until last week.
I think it's a big deal, to be honest, because players playing injured, like you said, you're never going to play at 100%, and I believe that 100% as well. But there's a certain line that you cross, like if you hurt, you're hurt. You got to sit out. Like you said, if you got a concussion, you got to sit out a few games. You got to take the test. You need to take the proper precautions to make sure that you're not going to injure yourself more and have that be something that you have to deal with for the rest of your life. So for them to make a statement like that and fire their coach, like you said, it shows that they care. And I mean, I guess it's almost kind of like a recruiting tool too. You know, say, hey, well, like this coach, he's not going to make you do this if you're not ready. You know, you can't play. So I think it's a good thing that they did that. You know,
absolutely.
Well, I came up in here since I'm the oldest of the bunch to where there was none of this stuff, and coaches shamed you into playing, and you almost, if you were injured and you didn't go out and try to play, you were considered less than a man, and it starts with a P, ends with a Y, and you can fill in the blanks. And that's what the coaches would call you. Talk about your ancestry, your mama, everything.
Mm-hmm. If you didn't play injured.
And didn't play injured. And then all of a sudden all the steroids came out, and back in my day, they were supplements. And the trainers were giving out steroids. I had no idea they were steroids till they started getting them exposed and all this stuff. And I said, hey, you know what? I took this stuff in college, and they told me it was supplements. I got it from the trainer. So, you know, they're doing whatever they could to make you bigger, stronger, faster, and to win football games. And I think it's a good thing they're making it aware of these athletes and looking out for them, because there is a life after football, believe it or not.
Right.
When you're a young kid, that's all there is football or basketball or baseball, whatever your sport is. And I'm going to be the greatest. Only 1% of this country become the greatest. So you need to get your education and let the sport take you as far as it can, but get your education and look out for your body afterwards, because I'm living proof to tell you that, you know, I've lost everything. I've had strokes, heart attacks, all this. All of it's been related to a lot of stuff that I did in college, played when I probably shouldn't have had. But, you know, if they asked me if I'd do it again, my answer would still be the same. Yes, 100%. I would do it again.
100%.
Wow. I appreciate you sharing that, Fred.
Absolutely.
You know, and letting people know. We haven't evolved as humans since the Roman Empire. You know, I mean, it was like, 4,000 years ago, but we really haven't evolved. And so a whole lot since gladiators took to the arenas in Rome and, basically, killed each other for entertainment. And, we haven't evolved that much. We still have that in us, that's what we want. And so we have to force ourselves. Fred, you just said it. You said you would still have done it even if you could do it again, do it over again. And we're trying to evolve to that point where guys are actually starting to say, after 1 year, 2 years in the league, say, I quit.
Yeah.
I retire.
Right.
I'm done. And guys are just now getting to that point where we're saying, you know what? This is enough for me. It may not be enough for you, but this is enough for me. Now but here's the deal. Life is dangerous. So what are you going to do? You can't just go in a shell somewhere. Right. Life is dangerous. So I'm not going to play football. I'm not going to drive a car. I'm not going to get in the elevator. I'm not going to take a bath. I'm not going to go in the bathroom.
I'm not going to leave my house.
I'm not going to leave my house. But my house is dangerous. Life is dangerous. I mean, so that's why the evolution has to come. But we have to really, I congratulate the Illini for doing what they did. They needed to do it to send that message, because a lot of teams wouldn't have done that. And we got to remember that coaches, they're not, if you got a coach that doesn't care about you, if you have a coach at any level that doesn't care about you, we've got to evolve at least that much.
Well, something that I'm learning about this topic too is that these coaches have to be aware of social media just as much as these kids. Ooh. This topic came out on social media by one of their players, Simon Kognovich.
Right.
That what took place was his knee, and he had a meniscus removed, and he didn't give permission for that. This is what took place, but that's how the coach was. He was talking with the medical staff and having them do certain things, and they were doing certain things to get these kids back to playing where they didn't get time to heal. The kid went to social media with it, and this fires things up. And that's the thing you have. It's going to strike a fire right away. Mm-hmm. Things are not waiting anymore. It's not going to take time. When they're using this social media and they have the access to that and report these things, you have to change your way of thinking. Even if you came from the day and age where this is how football was and this is how, yeah, that's fine and dandy. You may use motivational words. You may use things like that to get kids going. I completely understand that because football is a mental game. You're going to line up across from the guy from you, and he may say some of the most outrageous stuff. But if you don't use your mental control, you're going to lose. But as a coach, you truly have to change your style, injuries, and all of that as they're raising more awareness nowadays for what's taking place. So,
if you're injured, you need to take care of yourself. You need to make sure you're taken care of. You need to make sure that because there's no medical insurance for college players. It really is.
No, there is no.
There's no you've got to rely on the trainers. And then there's no medical accountability
to those trainers.
Right. Well, there's no medical accountability to the school after you leave.
So are you saying that maybe colleges should always have a second opinion outside? Do you think that schools should have that?
The only way you can get it is through your own whatever doctor.
Right.
And, like say if you're a kid out of state or you don't have insurance or whatever the deal is, that's the only way you get it. The colleges won't provide that for you.
Well, because they have their own system. But do you think with injuries and things like that, they should be permitted to have an outside source look at it?
I do. And they're moving toward that. Go ahead. But they're moving toward that. Here's the deal. They're calling them student athletes. They're not really paid employees. So since they're student athletes, they're really second. I'll say this: I hate that word, student athlete. That when you put those two together, because what you really have done, you relegated to that athlete as a second class citizen, and so he's subject to whatever the school says. And then because you're not an employee. If you were an employee of the school, per se, like any other average person. I'm not saying that you pay them $1,000 million or whatever else. I'm just saying you have certain rights as an employee, but as a student athlete, your rights are taken away. JJ?
Oh, I was just saying, just from personal experience, I had arthroscopic surgery on my left ankle. I had some bone spurs, and everything was taken care of while I was in school. And then as soon as I was done playing football, I was still going to therapy after classes and stuff like that. But as soon as I was done with school, they're looking at me like,
you don't get anything else.
Yeah, did they not tell you, or because you're not on our list anymore? Or, they're literally looking at me like I'm stupid. Like
you don't have an appointment.
You're not scoring touchdowns anymore.
Yeah,
right.
That's it.
We're on to our next customers.
Absolutely.
And I think that you should definitely have a second opinion, because the trainers, they obviously work for the school, so they got the coaches in your ear like, oh, make sure he's ready, make sure he's ready, get him ready.
Yeah,
they have counting on you.
They have a job to do.
Right.
And in the midst of that, I want to do what we're doing here at City Prep Radio. We have put a platform together to allow all high schools and sports clubs to be able to provide sports radio and live play-by-play broadcasting for their school capability. If you're interested in that, please send an email over to info@cityprepradio.com. We are on a mission now. We're contacting schools. We're contacting club sports to help them get their platform set up so that they can have their own live radio station for sports and for sports play-by-play to give their community, their alumni, a way to tap in and for them to have their own broadcasting capabilities at their own school. And that's something new that we're launching here.
And that's going to be a great thing. And while we're at that, while we're in that mode of advertisement, Clark's Downing Street Auto Body. Back in college, you were talking about college. We had guys, and I think the statute of limitations have ended, but we had guys called friends of the program. And for me, and Fred knows this, yeah. Clark is a friend of the program. Clark is one of those guys, not for college, but just for him personally towards us and how he deals with us. Clark Auto Body is the actual name is Clark's Downing Street Auto Body, right there off of Downing Street, 36 and Downing Street. You want to if your car is injured, give him a call 303-286-8657. That's 303-296. I'm sorry, 303-296-8657. Clark is a good guy. You take your car to a dealership or somewhere like that, or your weekend mechanic or someone who's working out of their garage, and you're not sure that you're going to get a fair treatment. Clark Auto Body is going to give you fairness in every way. You can trust him. He's one of those guys. He's a friend of the program. He's a friend of your program. That's Clark's Downing Street Auto Body.
Yeah, I'll second that. But getting back to what you guys are talking about on the insurance, I think there's so much money in college football and college basketball. There's been something circulating. They're moving that they're going to start providing insurance for the athletes and giving them some sort of little stipend, and I'm all for that, to get the friends of the program, as you say, out of the program.
Right, but you needed friends of the program.
Oh, yes, you did.
Because right now, and they do have this right now. They just implemented this where if you come from, if you're a high school athlete, you get a scholarship. Your family, not necessarily you, but your family gets $3,000 to $5,000 in per diem per se. For travel expenses. It's still you don't think about it, but if a kid doesn't have money to come home for in between spring break, summer break, or whatever, he's stuck there. Yeah. They don't give you money for your laundry. They don't give you money for pizza.
Well,
they don't give you extra.
He's
extra
not
stuff.
really stuck there per se. The coach goes to the friend of the program, and then the friend of the program, all of a sudden, ticket shows up.
We could talk about that because of statute of limitations, but I'm just talking about legally. Yeah, that wasn't something that they were able to do, and now it just makes sense. Mm-hmm. If you got a program, I'm sitting here at the University of Arizona, and buildings are being built, and 65,000 fans are packed into the stadium, and they're selling my image. They're selling my image as posters and whatnot. And then I got to call home and say, Mom, I need some laundry money. So it only makes sense that the kids get something back.
They should. I mean, Johnny Manziel he stopped all that stuff. They were selling his likeness and everything. He said, wait a minute, that's on me. You can't do that. And I think he filed some sort of lawsuit, and I don't know what ended up on that.
Well, he actually got in pretty much trouble trying to.
Well, he got in trouble for signing an autograph.
Well, for signing an autograph, he was trying to be, trying to make money off his name. Basically, is what he said. I need to make money off my name,
which you should be able to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, the NCAA is doing
so much money off of these players.
That's unreal. That's what I just said. Where they coin you as a student athlete, and like I said, then we separately, they work. When you put those two together, it doesn't. It doesn't work for the player himself because now you're not an employee. Anything, if you want insurance or any of the other things that you would get as a regular employee of the school, and you're bringing money into the school, you can't access that.
No.
So, the guys at Ohio State with Tressler, those guys got in trouble because they were selling. Well, I can't figure this one out. Okay, this is wild beyond compare to me. All right, they were selling their trophies or rings or whatever they got. It was in their house. It belongs to them. They were trading them in for tattoos or what have you and whatnot. Tressler lost his job, and the quarterback, was it Pryor?
Yeah,
Pryor got punished in the NFL. He had to sit out.
He had to do a supplementary draft.
He had to go to the supplementary draft. And the NFL punished him for doing that. In the NFL,
ridiculous.
You're able to, you're not individually able to capitalize off your name because there's NFL rights. That's a whole nother story. But the fact of the matter is, it's yours. It's your ring. It's you would think you could do what you want with it.
Yeah.
You can take it anywhere. You could do it, but because the NCAA, we need to get rid of the NCAA. That's right, I said it. We need to get rid of the NCAA because of the NCAA. They won't allow kids to capitalize off their names, but they will.
Right. They need to figure out something. Like, even if you're not going to give these players cash or a check to go cash, like, they need to be able to at least eat as much as they want. They should have a ride.
Training table type deal?
Yeah, they should have a ride everywhere they need to go. They should all have tickets to and from for any major holiday to go see their families. They should have insurance after they play. They should have something. You don't have to give them cash because we can all agree that, we're not the best with cash. Like college students, we're a little focused with it. Like spending on things that aren't necessarily necessary.
But that's you. You need to have the cash to make that decision because not everybody's that way.
You do it if it's your cash. You need to do it.
You do what you want to do with it.
Right.
You do you.
But I'm saying, like, even if they don't want to give us cash, like just straight cash, like it's got to be something. Like there's got to be something that's done. Like food needs to, because these guys are starving. Jameis Winston, he's stealing crab. Like he's a starting quarterback. What's going on?
He wasn't necessarily stealing crab.
Okay, he wasn't stealing it. Right. They was giving it to him.
They were giving him crab.
But even then, he shouldn't have to do that.
And he wanted some more crab.
Yeah.
No. Okay,
that should be one of those things.
Okay. Here's what happened. If y'all wanted a full disclosure, here's what happened. They're already giving him food. He'll go in there and he was getting a hookup.
Right.
He was getting a hookup.
Right.
And then he got accused of a rape. All right, the hookup stopped, and so when he went in there to do the hookup, like he always did, this is what happened. Now there's other people who are going, no, you can't take that crab out of here. You got to leave those crab legs here because you got. They didn't say you got accused of rape, but you don't get the hookup anymore. And he's looking around like, wait a minute, but I was getting the hookup up until this. I was your boy,
right?
And now you don't like me. So now I don't get the hookup anymore. So, but the main point to that is there are college students who are bringing in millions of dollars into programs who are hungry. That makes no sense.
None.
That makes no sense. They open training table, do something.
None.
That makes no sense whatsoever for a college athlete who just played in front of 18,000 people in basketball, 60, 70, 100,000 people in football, and then he goes to his dorm room and has nothing to eat.
Well, that was the Manziel issue, right, with the jersey.
Right. Well,
that was why he was suing, because it's like, well, this, whatever his number was, I'll say number two.
It was number 2.
It's like everybody's wearing this number 2 jersey. They're not wearing this number 2 jersey because it'll be different if a college set a number and this is the number that they just sell and so happen a great player comes. But you're selling this because this represents Manziel.
Right.
How is it that this...
It says number 2, but it says Manziel on the back.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're putting their names on it. They didn't have his name on it. But see,
that
college
2 meant something.
But see, in colleges, sometimes they don't put the name, but that still doesn't take away who's the jersey.
Right. Everyone knows.
Right.
Everyone knows that. I wore
number 32 in college, and I see my poster everywhere. With 32 on it. They had my face kind of blacked out, but it was me.
Number.
It was me.
And that's the thing. The compensation needs to take place when you're making, because in the pros, you have somebody's number, they get paid for that, period.
Well, the NFL actually gets paid for it.
Well,
you have to have your own brand, but at least you can have your own brand.
You can have your own.
At least you can have your own brand.
That's the big difference.
Yeah.
You're making billions. And like they said, he had one of the number 1 selling jerseys. And you just get nothing?
You get zero. How is that? How do you get zero? That's what I'm saying. I'm confused. I'm totally confused by that. And I'm confused not in a way that I don't know what's going on. I'm confused in a way that doesn't make any kind of comparable sense.
No. Yeah, it's a tough topic, man. It really is. It's one of those ones that I think they're going to have to come to some type of middle ground. And no, it doesn't have to be with them getting paid, but some type of compensation helps, because yes, they are student athletes. Yes, they are, yes, they're getting to go to school for free. But what people don't understand, and this is what no one ever likes to talk about, is the rest of the students on campus are free to do whatever they want. They can go to this party. They can go to that party. These kids are under a schedule. They're under a curfew. They're under a practice mandate that they have to be. Even when it's not mandatory practice, they still have to be there for those workouts, or that will affect them. They have a set schedule coming in. They don't have a schedule of, my class times are on, I only have classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's it. I put 6 classes on those days, and the rest of the time is free time to myself.
And I didn't go to school for free.
But that's the thing, though. It's never for free, because they still have to go under a schedule. Yeah. People understand, these athletes, they're under a schedule. They're up at this time. They got to be here at this time. Then they have to set their class schedules in a certain time. They don't get to pick when your class schedule's set up, especially during the football season. So you're under control of the football program. So you break that, then you're going home.
Hey, because your scholarship scholarship is not they say it's a 4-year ride, but it's got to be renewed year by year. You could get dropped anytime at any place. Fred didn't go to school for free. JJ didn't go to school for free. You didn't go to school for free. I didn't go to school for free. We paid for that scholarship with our sweat, our blood, our dedication, doing things that nobody else was willing to do at the time it was time to do it. Right. We've got our scholarship, our health, our long-term health, our short-term health.
Yep.
It's not freedom. Free is a relative term.
And it's just about respecting and understanding is they're not trust and believe these kids' schedule. It is. I've talked to kids that I coach that they go off and they're like, this is tough.
Oh, it's insane.
It's not what it's not like high school where you go out, you go to practice. It's all day thing. You got class, you got tutoring, you got this, you got study hall, you got football, you got film, you got weightlifting.
This is all training room.
Yeah. It's all included. And then they have certain times where they get off and go, but everybody else around you, they're going to party, they're freelancing, they're doing all these things. But you have to really buy into what you're there for. And I think the respect for all athletes needs to wake up. Stop saying, oh, well, they get to go to school for free and their school is paid for and all that. No, they have to work for that. Right. They can be dismissed from that scholarship just as fast as you can get kicked out of school. Right. But you get more opportunities than a lot of them do. So it's not just you get free. So they do need some compensation. That was the reason why they made the change in the meal plan to where kids can eat 24/7 because you guys know, being at college, they had that meal plan. You had those 3 times a day. You eating dinner at 6, the meal club at 7:30. After that, you're hungry again.
And you couldn't take food out.
You
could lose your scholarship for taking a hot dog out of the training room.
That's exactly right.
And now they've changed it to where now they get full food 24/7. Okay, that's great. But then also, how does it feel for a kid to go to school? You coming from a poverty-stricken community, home, money's not like that for you. Some kids have parents that can send them money, and this kid is still away at school. You're seeing the struggle, but he can't even just to go away and buy something. Little things. You see what I mean? It's little things you don't even get to do. Those are the little things that help. I'm going to school. I'm trying to better myself, and I'm playing this sport. What's wrong with giving these kids a $500 a month stipend? Yeah. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with all of those. I don't care if it's a soccer athlete. The reason why football is talked about, because it's the biggest sport that brings the most money in, period. So the thing they need that. That stops the kids from when you're talking about seeing people doing stealing. When you see kids are robbing from other kids, you know why? Because they don't have it, and you got to change that mentality. And if you really want to help change these kids, then you need to change the process.
Crickets.
But what they're going to say is they're going to all these other programs that you mentioned. Pretty soon, how much do you pay the soccer team? How much do you pay the gymnasts? How much do you pay the swimming team?
That's Title IX.
They all want their little piece.
Absolutely.
It should all be based off what the sport brings in.
Well, and that's Title IX. Title IX said that it all has to be equal.
It has to be equal.
But you know what? Sometimes it's just not equal.
Well, my thing is you can't say it's equal because Title IX says equal, but understanding if they change their stipend based off of what the sport brings in, I think it would change a lot. I mean, football is the biggest sport. They have the most players. They're going to be paying out the most. They make the most money. They should be compensated that way.
At a state school, the highest employee in a state, 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, the highest employee at a state school is the head football coach. Mm-hmm. So that's not equal. He's not making the same.
He's not making the same as the gymnastic coach,
right? He's making $4 million go to him, and then the teacher makes $100,000. That's not equal. So if it's not equal, it's not equal.
Well,
either it is or either neither.
Title IX works for the kids.
Spread his. That's what I'm saying. Student athlete. You put that student in front of athlete, and now you change it up for everybody because
no one else is held to this.
Nobody else is equal.
Absolutely.
The coaches can make $1 million. They can have a car dealership back them up, and they can have free housing and everything else. I mean, they get $1 million home or whatever, and then the kids are still student athletes. Well, no, you can't have that. That's that's too much. So we're talking about the realities. We're not whining. We're just telling the truth.
We're just talking about facts, and it's something that we want to talk about out there. I mean, hey, topics that need to be brought up. We'll actually have a line next week where we can take calls in for people that want to call in and share their opinion. If you want to take those calls, that'll be available as we're going. I mean, one of the greatest things that I see about this show here with Chris, Fred, and JJ, man, you guys are touching on a lot of topics that's going to bring a lot of people to life. And as we keep growing and keep going, they'll be able to listen to it throughout the week and talk more about it, and you get to touch base on this as we keep going. So, I mean, college is just so much happening. We're just into the first 2 weeks of sports. Pros haven't even kicked off yet. They're still in their preseason doing cuts, things like that. College weekend, high school weekend. It's a great time to start sports. Football is big, but we know all the sports out there are going. So, you know, I'm going to tell you, hats off to you guys. I'm impressed. I love the conversation that we're having. I think we could sit here and talk about this all day, and it just flows and it makes sense. But, you know, that's just what it's about. Chris, tell me some more of what you got going over there.
Well, we got there's Clark Auto Body. You know, give them a call. I mean, they're at 303-296-8657. I mean, he's just a great guy to do work with. We also have A1 Boxing. He's not officially on, but that's my boy. We went to high school together, Glenn Goodson, A1 Boxing. We're going to get him on board. He's going to do some things with us. We got some things going on with the boxing community, also with, MMA. I'm not an MMA guy. But good. I love the sweet science of boxing. So we're gonna get Glenn Goodson. You go over and see him. He's in Aurora. He's right off of Buckley and Iliff. So you know, go see him. He's got some great things going on right there. We're gonna do some great work with him coming up in the near future. So you know, we got Clark's Auto Body, and then we got Hope. We're gonna be at Hope September 26th, and we're gonna be there from we'll probably be there all day. Well, I got to go see some football play. But we're gonna be on the air from 11 to 7. 2. We're gonna be on the air from 11 to 2. On the air for 11 to 2. But the whole Hope Fest function, you know, an outdoor function, it's gonna be from 11 to 7. And we're gonna have food out there. We're gonna have vendors. It's gonna just be a great time. Come on out there and enjoy a time with us. You know, Hope is located right there on Broadway and about Hampton. So I'll give you more information about that as we get closer to it.
Yeah, it's actually Broadway and Mansfield.
Okay, Broadway and Mansfield.
Just a little south of Hampton.
Yeah, and then A1 Boxing is 700 South Buckley Road, right there in Aurora, 80017. So you can contact Glenn over there at 303-696-2694, 303-696-2694. You don't always, because everybody won't be a football player or a basketball player or even a golfer, but you may be an athlete of any size and still train at a high level through boxing. Mm-hmm. So boxing may be, or MMA if you have to. But I mean, but boxing is the sweet science of boxing is what I really enjoy, and I'm just really appreciate how that has an athlete has a chance. This boxing used to be the sport that got a lot of people out of the streets, right? And it's not so much now, you know, and it still can be. If you don't fit into some of the team sports, boxing may be your deal. Do we have time to even talk about the pros at all?
Yeah, let's touch base on them. We got time. We make the time here.
Okay, so we're going to make the time.
But I want to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
As we move forward, Northwestern is about to upset Stanford. It's 1 minute, 5 seconds left.
Oh, okay.
And yes, I'm a Northwestern Wildcat fan. My family's from Chicago. My mom actually lived in Evanston. I grew up out there through my summers. I've always watched Northwestern, and they're about to upset Stanford. It's 16-6. Northwestern has the ball. No, Stanford has the ball on the goal line. Oh, they stopped Stanford actually at the goal line.
Little play-by-play.
So it's about to happen. I've been watching this. I just want.
DB, I know you get silent over there every now and again.
I'm watching what happens, and it's getting that serious. It's 55 seconds left right now. They stopped Stanford on the goal line. 30 seconds left, and this looks like it's going to be an upset
because Stanford was ranked, and
Stanford's 21. in the nation.
In the nation.
They're going to fall out of the top rankings, and I'm happy about that. Good job, Northwestern, and they finished this
Stanford
off.
thought they had a cupcake in Northwestern. Jim Harbaugh thought he had a cupcake in Utah, and then Utah served them some cupcakes with the U on there. That was so cold.
Matter of fact, I have a daughter that works for Gucci Cupcakes. Maybe I'll bring in some cupcakes.
There we
Bring
go.
some cupcakes for everybody
Absolutely.
next Saturday when we come back together.
Absolutely. See, we got to keep an eye on what's going on out here. That's what you love about this time of the year, man. It's sports. It's all that. So I just want to, before you go ahead and transition, talk about what you're seeing in the pros and where we're going. Man, this is going to be a big upset of the day, and there's been upset every day this week. CU got upset.
CU didn't really
Michigan
get upset.
They did. They were picked. They were the favorite to win. That's the upset.
Okay, well, we're upset that CU lost, but I don't call it an upset.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that.
Because if you put money on CU against Hawaii in Hawaii, then that's on you.
Well, I
can see why you would be upset. And even though we're just saying money or soda pop or whatever you want to put on it.
And speaking of upset,
okay,
our subject is very dear to my heart.
Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
Very dear to my heart.
Don't you do it.
The latest cut of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, Lord.
Tim Tebow.
Wow.
Oh, man.
I don't know. That makes no sense. They get rid of they get rid of Barkley, send him to Arizona, figuring that's going to clear the way
Not
for
Charles
Tebow.
Barkley.
No.
Matt Barkley.
Matt Barkley.
Charles Barkley is in Arizona, but I understand what you're saying. Right.
Matt Barkley, they send him to Arizona to clear the way for Tebow, and then the next day they cut Tebow.
They're going to cut Tebow. They're bringing him back. They're putting him on the practice squad. They're bringing him back. I guarantee you they're bringing him back. Another soda pop on that. They're bringing.
You already owe me a soda pop
on Tebow.
So now you already owe me a soda pop on Tebow. You better go ahead.
Okay.
Take him to Cubs Foods or something to get a case of pop because he's gonna owe me a whole lot by the end of this season.
Did you guys just hear how old my buddy Fred is? He said Cubs Foods. Cubs Foods ain't been around since.
I remember Cubs Foods. They had a good grocery store.
They had a good grocery store.
That was a good
but
grocery
the price
store.
was cheap, so take him to Costco.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, anyway, you can make it easy on yourself.
We were going to talk because this was going to be a Buff moment. You know, the Smoky Hill Buffaloes, the CU Buffaloes, the Buffalo Bills. But breaking news: Tim Tebow cut by the Philadelphia Eagles. All right. Okay. Is this Tim's last chance at NFL? No. They're gonna bring him back. Here's the problem with Tim Tebow. All right. Here's the problem with Tim Tebow. I see that look you get on your face, Fred, when we start talking about double T. And I want everybody's opinion on Tim Tebow because everybody has one. Here's the problem with Tim Tebow. He's not consistent enough in practice. All right, and I saw Tim Tebow in high school.
And we're talking about practice.
We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. Not the game. Not the game that I love. We're talking about practice. Tim Tebow's not consistent enough in practice to allow guys to get their timing down. Yeah. But in a game, Tim Tebow, he's the real deal. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings. He's a lightning rod. Either you love him or you hate him. Tim Tebow is chitlins. All right? There's nobody on this planet.
You have to explain that to us.
Okay. Yeah. There's nobody on this planet that says, oh, I kind of like chitlins. Either you love them or you hate them. There's nobody who just like eat them. Either you never touch chitlins or you love chitlins. There's no in between. And Tim Tebow is that type of lightning rod where if you either love him or you hate him, you just think, he doesn't work any harder than anybody else. He can't throw. He can't do this. He can't do that. But when Tim Tebow gets in football games, that's where he shines. But you have to be in the pros. You have to be able to practice in a way that allows everybody else to get their timing right. Yeah. And so with a little development, Tim Tebow will be back on the practice squad. And he will allow himself and other guys to work with him because the best thing that Tebow did this offseason is that he kind of lowered the voice of Tim Tebow. Even though when he came into the game, everybody cheered. It was like, the ratings were high. Everybody wanted to see him play the whole nine. But he didn't bring extra attention onto himself this off season. So, I did like that about Tim Tebow. How do you feel about Tebow?
I love Tebow, man. I think he's great. I definitely think he deserves a spot on somebody's roster. It's ridiculous that he's not in the league, in my opinion. I understand he's not accurate and he's probably not the best practice player, but when he comes to the game, he balls, and sometimes, people have trouble in the red zone, right? He's the red zone king, in my opinion. He's going to get you that touchdown, 100%. That's just how I feel about Tebow. Like we were talking about the 2-quarterback system earlier and everything. Like, right. In my opinion, since Rock Canyon, I haven't seen it work as well as it did, even though he wasn't also a throwing quarterback, but when he was with Chris Leak at Florida, their little quarterback thing that they had going on worked great, Like, as soon as they got into the red zone, Tim Tebow was in the game.
Right. And where is Chris Leak now?
Chris Leak is watching TV at his house.
Okay, and Tim Tebow will be joining him here shortly. He's sitting right next to him. Yeah.
Well,
got a place for both of them.
Tim does have he still has his ability to go and do the SEC network. So he was really good on that.
Good. He's found something that he's good at. Yeah. Quarterbacking and one of them. Being an NFL quarterback is not one of them, so he might need to go to the Southeast Conference. He is a great announcer. I'll say that. But as far as an NFL quarterback, he's a little short.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, he's a great athlete, and he's a winner. I won't take that away from him. This guy I'd go to battle with anytime because he is a winner.
Thank you for
saying that. You're going to have to kill him to win a football game. Unfortunately,
nobody's going to get the ball right here except for me.
He's got some of the realest speeches in the history of sports.
Yeah.
He needs some. Pete Carroll needs to hear that. But anyway, that's a subject for another show.
That's a whole other subject.
But
the Seattle Seahawks could use I'm telling you, Seattle Seahawks can use a Tim Tebow. If he doesn't pass through waivers, the Seattle Seahawks will pick up Tim Tebow. If any team will, because he's a perfect backup for Russell Wilson. Right. Think about it. They're both. I'm gonna say it like I feel it. Devout Christians, which is nothing wrong with that. They're both, and they can really play off each other. And then if Russell Wilson were to go out, Tim Tebow's a perfect type of player. Even though they do have a good backup, Tim Tebow's a perfect type of player to emulate what Russell Wilson does. But I'm sorry, Fred. I just got this thing about Tim Tebow. I saw him in high school. I saw him his sophomore year in high school, and I looked at this kid and I said, "Who is this kid who's out here?" And I understand his background and why he wants to be a quarterback. And then I watched him through college. I was down there in the Jacksonville area, and so I have an affinity for Mr. Tebow.
Well, and that's okay. I mean, that's fine. I got no problem with that. I'm just saying he's not an NFL quarterback, and so far he's been with 2 different organizations, and he's not an NFL quarterback. They can see it.
Yeah.
They tried it here with Denver, and he was able to get some stuff done. I've never seen a game where you complete one pass, two passes,
Kansas City,
and win a football game.
And they won.
He's a winner.
So,
some believe that boggles my mind.
Tim Tebow.
So when does Tim Tebow buy into the fact that he is a football player, and maybe I should just play another position?
He should play H-back.
He wouldn't.
H-back.
He's not.
He wants to touch the ball and run. Why not be a running back?
He's not.
My thing is this: if he's not, then it's time for him to exit the league because he's not going to be a quarterback.
And you know what?
He's a great runner with the ball.
And you know what? He would be happy with that. Because he had a shot. He shot his shot, and he would be happy with that. But
he would be happy with. He's getting a bigger shot than a lot, and I think he should.
That's a lot.
And I think at some point in time, if you really love the game and you like it like that, then move over to. You want to touch the ball and be a factor, then run. That's fine.
That's another reason a lot of people don't like Tebow because it seems like he's get favoritism.
Well, it seems like he's being greedy.
And that's just who he is. As far as, and I wouldn't use the word greedy. But when Tim came out for football as a little leaguer, and I've met a lot of the people that either played with him or coached him or was around him in little league. When Tim played, I'm gonna say it like I feel it. Tim played in the hood, little league wise, and so when you see this, I gotta say it like I feel it because I can't say it the other way. It'd take too long. This big corn-fed white boy coming out to the hood in Florida, and they're looking at him, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" He says, "I'm here to play football." I said, "Well, we finally got our lineman. We got another person. We got our linebacker. And Tim Tebow says, "No, I'm a quarterback." He said, "You're not a quarterback. This fast one over here with the big arm, he's a quarterback." And then Tim outplays those kids and says, "Well, I guess you are a quarterback." Yeah. And then he's used to overcoming those type of odds in the reverse.
But what you're talking about is Little League, high school, and pro.
Right.
That transition, and in college, that transition takes place all the time. He has not made professional throws. He is a professional running back. What he played was a wildcat set where he threw the ball a couple times. He just needs to say, "Hey, I'll play running back." At this point in time, that's what he's literally been a wildcat set. That's what he's been.
I was working for WJAX in Jacksonville, and I uttered those words. Well, Tim would be a great running back in the pros.
I think it'd be excellent.
I thought they were going to fire me. I came close to getting fired for saying that Tim Tebow should be a running back. But and even from Tim, I'm not saying that he would. So I agree the fact that he should be a running back.
How was he going to outrun? These linebackers would eat Tim Tebow up. He wouldn't make it through the game.
Yeah. Did you see
Tim Tebow versus Von Miller?
Did you see
who's the winner?
Did you see John Riggins?
DeMarcus Ware versus Tim Tebow.
Did you see John Riggins play football? Did you see?
Of course, I went to Kansas. I saw both Riggins.
Did you see Zonka play football? Tim Tebow, he comes, and I know you saw him. You saw Red Grange play. What am I talking about? What I'm saying is Tim Tebow is in that mode where where he can really he's gonna give you 4 yards. If you need 4 yards, he's gonna get you 4 yards. If you need 5 yards, he's still gonna get you 4 yards, but he's gonna get you those 4 yards. That's all I'm saying.
In today's game, the speed of the game has gone way past John Riggins. John Riggins was great in his day. That was in the 70s. That's not now. You've got defensive linemen running 4.6 and 4.4, 4.5 40s. Yeah, linebackers are just incredible. Who is Tebow going to juke and beat to the end zone?
Ask the Jets.
Absolutely no one.
Remember that Bronco game where he rushed for almost 100 yards and he beat the Jets in the final minutes, and they had a bullseye on him, and they couldn't touch him. They couldn't stop him.
You can catch lightning in a bell once upon a time.
He won 7.
But doing it as a study diet.
He won 7 out of 8 games that year in 2011. Don't make me go through this argument once with you again, Fred.
I don't think he'd be a good running back, though.
I think
at all.
Even young JJ's got more common sense than you were in the league.
It's just if he lines up.
You've been in the league and you talking like this, you got to be out your mind.
I don't believe in that. Right?
He just my thing is he just needs to switch from behind. He's not a quarterback, and I think he's a great motivator. I think he inspires the team. I think he brings a winning attitude that every team needs to have. It just comes down to, and you know what though? Honestly, Tim Tebow needs to find a coach that wants to take a chance and change the offensive style in the league.
Well,
and one thing about the league, it's a copycat situation.
Absolutely.
And so if he's not going to be on a team that wants to, you know what, we're going to step out and we're going to change it. Because honestly, they could win with that style, as you've seen the Broncos did. But what coach is willing to put his job on the line to do that, to say this is what we're going to do? And they may get somewhere with it because right now, the teams won't have a chance to transition because they're all prepared for passing. They're all set for a certain style of offense.
Right.
He needs the coach that's going to say, this is what we're going to run, and I'm going to go with it.
And it's not going to happen.
No. Because nobody's going to want to step out on the limb and say, we're going to lose. I'm putting my job on the line that this will work. I think it could work.
They run it in Seattle. They run it in Minnesota. But see, if someone has to pick up Tim Tebow right now, they have to put them on their active 53-man roster. So, do they have the room in Minnesota? I'm thinking about the teams, like Teddy Bridgewater, Russell Wilson. I'm thinking about the guys that he could back up and really just fit in perfectly as a backup. Because you know what? He's not Tim Tebow. You know what? Tim Tebow he's never going to be a consistent. I'll go with that. He's never going to be a consistent starting quarterback in the NFL. But in spots,
He would be excellent
in spots. That's all I'm saying. So let me just I'll back off a little bit so I don't sound too insane. But
that means you got to carry three quarterbacks.
You got to carry three
quarterbacks.
You got to carry three quarterbacks, and teams can afford to carry three quarterbacks nowadays. They can carry them on their
the taxi squad.
Yeah, the developmental squad or whatever. But they can carry them that way. But two active quarterbacks, then you have three active quarterbacks. Teams can afford to have three active quarterbacks.
If a team was going to do that, it was when Tim Tebow came out. Jacksonville should have done it.
Jacksonville should have took him.
Because they were so bad, they could have changed everything to meet his needs. And they said, no, we can't do that. We'd rather go with Blaine Gabbert.
And they still losing. So, I mean, they would have lost just as many games with Tebow that they did with. And here's the thing about Jacksonville with Tim Tebow. They would have sold tickets. They would have sold. At least you'd have made money. At least you'd have sold tickets. You're selling them tickets with Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah, but the ownership, even though they knew, they were aware they could have sold tickets, and that's what they needed, they said, we can't do that and keep a straight face.
Well, and then so keep doing what you're doing and keep losing. And still not sell tickets.
Yeah.
So,
But they can do it with a straight face.
They could.
Absolutely.
At least you're not doing it with a straight face with that big smile on your face talking about Tebow.
Because Tebow is hysterical to me. That's why I'm laughing. I can't believe we're even wasting time having this conversation.
You brought it up.
Well,
you brought it up.
Just to point out to you.
You brought it up. He wasn't pointing out to me because I'm saying Tebow's going to make this football team. I know I'm a soda on that one. Because I did know they was going to trade one of their quarterbacks. I said Philadelphia's going to trade one of their quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
I knew that was going to happen because, and so as Tebow goes, there's going to be a lot of fans. There's a lot of guys. The Cherry Creek guy wears number 15. The Cherry Creek quarterback wears number 15 in honor of Tebow. Tebow, he brings a lightning rod.
He inspires you.
He
and that's
inspires people. He's what football players should be. But he's having a hard time finding his fit.
We're done with this conversation because Tim Tebow's gone. He's out.
He's not gone.
And you ain't going to hear from him again. I've already told you that.
Tebow's like
Messiah.
Tebow's like Tiger Woods.
I'm like E.F. Hutton. When I talk, people listen.
Okay, E.F. Hutton.
Okay?
Yeah.
So
another 1971 commercial.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Fred.
And they still making lots of money in one way or the other.
In one way or the other.
You get my drift.
Okay. Anyway.
Well, we love to say that, man, this is a great show here. Prep the Pro with Chris Brewer, Fred, and JJ. It's going to be every Saturday from 11 to 12:30, 1 o'clock. We'll go as we see fit.
And we will do remotes. Absolutely. From 11 to 2.
Well, yeah, the remotes when they do the remotes take place from different areas that you'll have a chance to listen to them. The show will go a little longer at that time because they'll have great interviews coming. Great show, great chemistry, talking about from everything from prep sports all the way up to high school, all the way up to the professional sports. I know one thing, I look forward to tuning in every week, sitting here enjoying this and getting this information and just enjoying the conversation. Make sure every week you have your chance to tune in as we get this show going every Saturday again at 11 o'clock. Prep the Pros. Stay on the lookout. You can replay this show all week, whatever you need to have to listen to it. Share it with your friends, like it. And remember, City Prep Radio, we are now doing a special where we're launching high school sports radio stations for all high schools and club sports. If you want more information on that, please send us an email at info@cityprepradio.com. We are putting sports radios in the high schools across America, and that's going to be a fun thing. Chris, do you guys have anything to say before we get out of here today?
Go Tebow. No. I got to ride home with Fred, so I know this conversation's not going to end, and we've had this argument for a long time. But you know what? I'm just glad.
We just got to save some.
Got to say. What do I always say, Fred? Save it for the air.
Save it for the air.
Save it for the air. But you know what? I'm excited about this first day. It kind of started out a little bit rocky, and especially with me. I don't know what was going on with me as we got started. But the fact of the matter is, I love what we have here. I love the chemistry. This was really a fun 2 hours. So we have an opportunity to bring something different. to the metro area and to Colorado,
and to the nation.
So when this is only the beginning. This is day one.
Right.
Day one, I'm excited about day two and beyond. So I just want to thank all my co-hosts here, Fred and JJ. I want to thank you, Dakari, for bringing us in and having trust in us and everything else. And so this has been a long time in the making, and here we are.
Yeah.
So I'm glad for the first show.
I want to second that as well. It's as I said, it's good to be back, but what you're going to get here is you're not going to get the company line, because a lot of these radio stations that we listen to, they're on the, obviously they're not on the payroll, but they get a lot of perks from the pro teams. So it's usually going to be pretty much
college
pro
team.
or college team. So it's going to be a little bit of slant towards that way. Here we're not paid by anybody. We're just giving you the straight up truth. Take it for what it's worth, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Great show, you guys. Talk to you later.
City Prep Radio.